Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Gatekeepers. I am Bishop Vanessa M. Brown, and I'm your host and moderator for this evening. We are happy to have our Facebook Live audience as well as our YouTube audience. And we want to welcome you here tonight, those that are on Twitter watching us, those that are on LinkedIn watching us, whatever social media platform that you're watching us on tonight. We say welcome, welcome, welcome. And you know what we like to do? We like to find out where you are watching from. So do me a favor and let us know where you're watching from so that I can give you a shout out. And we are wonderfully glad to have you here tonight. Thank you, Chuck Hunt from Monroe, Louisiana. Thank you so much. Deacon Marlene C. McLaurin from Baltimore, UFC Columbia and Towson. Thank you. Bishop-elect Benita Ramsey for being here with us. We appreciate you. Thank you, Sean Jenkins from Metro Atlanta. Thank you, Bishop Diana Williams. Thank you, Siegfried Benton. Y'all make sure y'all tell me where you're from. Thank you, Lavinia Bean, for being here. Thank you, Renee Vickers. Frau Rockaway is in the house. Good evening, Reverend Tanya Jackson. Delaware is here. So S. Lee Edwards, glad you're here from Chicago. Thank you, Maria Harris, Denver, Colorado. Thank you, Sherry James, for being here tonight from on YouTube from Centers for Spiritual Living in Reno, Nevada. Thank you, Reverend Maureen Bailey, for joining us from London, England. So happy to have you tonight. Diane Meredith, thank you for being here. Selkirk, Canada. Thank you, T. Mark. Always good to see you. Durham, North Carolina is in the house. Thank you, Reverend Beverly Scott Hudson from South Carolina. Our dear brother E. Marcus Harper Short, Baltimore, Maryland is here. Thank you so much. Gail Glover, good evening to you. Atlanta is in the house. Reverend Tracy Ruffin, League City, Texas. God bless you. Francis Cutshaw, thank you so much for being here. The Order of Hildegard, Pensacola, Florida. So glad that you're here. Jelani Hunter, Buffalo, New York. Glad you're here. First UMC Kirksville, Northeast Missouri on YouTube. Francis Cutshaw is also on YouTube. Pepsi Brown, Lawan watching from Las Vegas. YouTube is in the house with us. Facebook is in the house. Darlene Pittman Connell, Queens, New York. Thank you so much for being here. Colette Walker, thank you. St. Louis is here. Thank you so much. Sarah A, thank you for being here. Jackson, Michigan on YouTube. Lewis Eaton from Boston is here. We're so glad to see all of your faces here. This is wonderful. I ask you to share this Facebook Live, share this conversation. I promise you that it's going to be a wonderful conversation. Want to make sure we'll tell you in advance because we won't be able to do it at the end. Want to lift up Sean Jenkins. He's one of our regulars on. He's in the hospital. We ask that you pray for him. Want to make sure that I do that. Who else is here with us? I don't want to miss anyone, but I'm going to move forward. So glad to have everyone here tonight, here on Beyond the Gatekeepers. This is going to be a very powerful conversation. Thank you, Bishop Sonia Williams, for being here. We say good evening to you in the RIM family. We appreciate you. I ask that you just give it one big share so that people will know that we're on. Good to see you, Monique Nelda. New Jersey is representing. So glad that you're here. And again, I want you to give us one big share to let folks know. I already know that folks, the title alone has scared folks, okay? Karen Coleman, thank you so much. We say good evening to you from Boston. We're glad that you're here. Again, the title has already scared people. I got a few texts and questions, and I let people know that they can watch the show. And if we have time for all of the questions, we will make sure that we get all of the questions in. They can ask their question. They can watch it on the replay or whatever else they're going to do. Thank you, Melinda Love, for joining us. St. Louis, Missouri is in the house. So let me move on. People will still come in the room as I get the opportunity and the chance. I'm going to make sure that I call your name out, and I'm going to make sure that we recognize you as long as we have the time to get it in. And so tonight, let us start with our guest. And I'm so grateful for her presence on tonight in the person of Christena Cleveland, Dr. Christena Cleveland, PhD. She is a social psychologist, a public theologian, an author, an activist, and the founder and director for Center for Justice and Renewal. But she is the author of this book tonight that we're here to discuss. God is a Black Woman. Dr. Christena, please come and greet our audience really quickly, if you will. You're muted.
Thank you, Bishop Vanessa. It's wonderful to be here. I loved the roll call and just honoring and naming everyone who's here. You're in my hearts, and I'm just glad to be in fellowship with you all tonight, all over the world.
We're very happy to have you here. And so we cannot go any further with this without bringing in our dear Bishop Yvette Flunder, who's the presiding prelate of the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries. She's a senior pastor of City of Refuge United Church of Christ, and she will help us move this conversation along as well. Bishop Flunder, will you greet our audience on tonight?
Absolutely, yes. It is both my joy and my privilege to be in conversation with Dr. Christena Cleveland this evening, to see Bishop Vanessa, and we have been looking at each other this way for quite some time. But it's a blessing. It's a wonderful blessing. And to be in the company of all of our beloveds out there who are listening, seeking to hear a fresh word, a fresh revolutionary word for this incredible time that we are in. So we have an author tonight with an incredible background and a history, but also a word for this time, a now word. We're so happy to have Dr. Cleveland with us this evening.
Indeed, we are. And I am just excited because I had been trying to get you on the show. We started in May of 2020, Beyond the Gatekeepers. And I think your book came out in 2022. And I've been trying to get you. And Pastor Ann put up that she was in a seminar with you. And I said, wait a minute, hold it. I've been trying to get it for a long time. And she made it happen. So I am grateful. Thank you, Pastor Ann. I appreciate you. I want to start off with questions. Like I said, I was started receiving so many texts, and I was like, look, I didn't author this book. I just read it. And you need to go on and get you the book. And it's just powerful, right? The title itself is a provocation for many people. And so I want to just start off with just asking you, how did you even come to write the book to begin with?
Yeah, honestly, I can relate to the questions and the consternation that maybe you've received, because I get a lot of it myself. And I'd say one of the largest constituents of people who have questions or doubts are Black women, churched Black women. And I think that, if I had handed myself this book in my 20s, I would have been like, get behind me, Satan, this is heretical. This is heretical. And I was raised, kind of one foot in the Kojic church, the Black Pentecostal church, one foot in the white evangelical church, because my parents moved us to Fremont, California from Oakland, where I was born. And in both of those communities, both the Black communities and the white communities, I was taught to trust and obey, and to not ask any questions, not real questions, not ask. I remember getting kicked out of Sunday school when I was in first grade because I had questions about this God who supposedly loved the world, but didn't like that people were sinning. And so he sent a flood to kill everybody. And then we were supposed to still trust him. So I was just like, I don't understand what's going on here. And the teacher I think the teacher was threatened by my questions. And so I just got sent back to church, to like adult church from Sunday school. So I actually didn't even start really asking questions about that led me to the journey of my book until Trayvon Martin was killed when I was in my early 30s. That's when I first started looking at the problem of race in American Christianity, and the fact that American Christians had a really hard time believing the testimony and the perspective of Black folks. And so I started looking at the problem of white Jesus. And what's interesting is that my grandfather's church on my mom's side, my grandfather on my mom's side is a Kojic bishop in Chicago. And in his church, in the on the altar, there's a picture of the former bishop who's Black, and then there's a picture of white Jesus framed right next to him. So even in those spaces, I was exposed to this white God, and so I started to really question that. But it probably wasn't until Trump got elected that I started to really look at the problem of male Jesus too, and what that says about who's sacred and who's not, and whose testimony is valuable and who's not, and whose body matters, whose body matters, who should have a say over what happens to their body. And so really it was me running into church communities that didn't see the image of God in women and Black people, and specifically Black women. And so I went on a journey to find an image of God that looked like me and related to me.
Powerful. I love that. And so when I entered seminary, you hadn't written this book.
Mm-hmm.
And so one day I was in class and the professor said, who is God to you? And everybody was, going around. I said, God is a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a hush. And they looked at me, they was looking at me like, she's going to get struck down right now. Let's get out the way kind of thing. But, I learned so much doing seminary junkets with Bishop Flunder till that was like the first thing that came out of my mouth. God is a Black woman, So thank you for writing the book. I'm going to let Bishop Flunder talk in a minute. But before I do, this is the question. You started becoming interested in the Black Madonna.
Mm-hmm.
And you describe the Black Madonna as God who is for and with Black women. What do you see her, or why do you see her as God rather than the mother of Jesus?
Well, part of it comes from the history of the Black Madonna, and what we often aren't taught in church and in seminary is that over the years, Christian mystics have seen Mary, the Mother of God, as God. In the Protestant church, we've tended to see her, to sort of relegate her to just being the mother of God. But on the Catholic side, particularly mystics, they've seen her as the one who birthed God, therefore she is God. And I think patriarchy never really was at peace with a woman birthing God without any male seed. It couldn't handle not being the center of the story. And so Mary sort of became about her virginity and her piety and that sort of stuff. But one of the earliest names for Mary that goes at least back to the 300s is the enclosure of the God whom nothing can enclose. And so she's been seen for years by the church as God herself. And that's how she was able to birth God without any sperm. So part of it is coming from that. But, honestly, when I went on this journey, I just started trusting my own embodied experience. I had been taught my whole life that authority and truth existed outside of me, and that I had to just believe what I had been taught. And when I started trusting my body, and when I went on my pilgrimage to visit the Black Madonnas and I came face to face with them, I had a spiritual experience, and it was just like, this is God. I don't care what the title is, but this is the divine right here before me. My body is testifying to that. I feel safe for the first time in my life. I feel seen for the first time in my life. I'm breathing. I'm actually breathing for the first time in my life. I have hope. I feel connected, and a common divine feminine way of a litmus test of what is true or what is. It does it open me to love for myself, love for my neighbor, and love for the divine. If so, then it's good. It doesn't matter if it's heretical. It doesn't matter if people are saying, And over time, as I've studied patriarchy, particularly in the Black church, reading great people like Tamara Lomax and, others, I just become more and more skeptical of what they are saying. If, I try it on in my sacred Black feminine body, and if it feels good, great. And if it doesn't, move on.
Thank you. That's very powerful.
That's
Very
quite different
powerful.
from the goody two shoes pastor's kid I was. So
That's all right. Bishop Flunder?
Goody two shoes. I don't know if I ever really was a goody two shoes pastor's daughter. I definitely was, however, pastor's daughter, pastor's granddaughter. I do understand. I really do. And I take I think a very similar path when I think of the idea, even the creation story in Genesis, in our own image created we, them, male and female, which suggests that the concept of a woman not really having any person or power until a rib was taken from a man. And that somehow or other that rib was necessary for her to be made whole is inconsistent with the idea that the active presence of male and female are equally in the creation, or equally the creation of God. And I believe that male and female are created by the hand. And I like the we part, which somehow created we, suggests that it has always abided in even ways comfortably in an understanding of the divine. And I think that means that all of us can enjoy the fact that we have equal standing, equal love, equal divine presence, equal divine call. As I hear people say often that in particularly some of the Baptist churches in the Southern Baptist Conference and that women are too weak or too frail to carry the load of being pastors of churches or carry high-level administrative, or too emotional. All that stuff gets on my nerves so bad, Lord Jesus. Oh, God, sometimes I think I'm going to have to take medicine, because that is just not at all evident in not only the history of the church, but just the history of the contributions of women to almost everything that I can think of. And whether we're talking about having to do with medicine or music or culture or dance or the beauty of designing buildings, the wisdom of how to create tools and sometimes have them, the patents stolen from them, but they did create them. Those kinds of realities fly in the face of suggesting that somehow women, and here's the other thing, Dr. Christena, all women don't fall into one definition any more than all men fall into a definition. Even from culture to culture, the things that women do in some cultures are the things that men do in other cultures. Over and over again. That happens over, and if we leave people alone, people will have an opportunity to be who they really are in the eyesight of God. But all of that having to package what is women and what is men has been a sickness in the human family over and over again. And I am so really thoroughly, thank you, Jesus, hallelujah, glad that you wrote about this, to speak into it in this time. One more thing, Bishop Vanessa, when the perpetrators of a lot of what is happening right now is coming from women also, who will allow themselves to be disempowered, oftentimes so that they can empower the men in their lives. And I want to say out loud that that's a control mechanism too. Now I'm going to stop right there. Let that rest.
That's good. Indeed. Thank you, Bishop. Dr. Christina, part of what drove you, and as you said, but I also read in the spiritual, in this particular spiritual direction, was the killing of unarmed Black people by police, and you were looking for ways to feel safe, but also to have hope. While you were traveling through the French landscapes, looking for Black Madonnas, did you feel safe as a Black woman?
Yes and no. I was mostly in rural France, and France is about as racist as is possible. So they have this history of devotion to the Black Madonna, but they don't connect her to actual Blackness and Black people. Um, so I mean, I felt about as safe as someone would just hiking through the woods because I was often hiking through mountains and on trails. I will say that in the presence of the Black Madonnas, I felt protected. I felt connected. Um, but I would say it was more of a spiritual safety than a physical safety.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. And there was,
Everyone,
I start the book with like getting chased by the police.
yes,
And so I certainly didn't feel safe in that
yeah,
moment because I
yeah,
knew I'm a Black body in France. And that is political, no
yes,
matter what. Yeah.
yeah. You are watching Beyond the Gatekeepers. We thank you all for joining us on Facebook Live. We thank you for joining us on YouTube and all of the social media platforms where you can find us. This is Dr. Christena Cleveland, and we are talking about her book, God is a Black Woman. We're going to give you the opportunity to ask questions. Remember that you put the word question in front and then ask the question so we'll know. We're going to also do a free book giveaway tonight. So you have to type the hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. We also want to encourage you to purchase the book. And if you go on Amazon, Pastor Sue, and we thank God for her tonight, she's going to post it all in the comment section and in the chats so you can know how to purchase this particular group. I want to also just continue to shout out different ones that I see coming on. Thank you, Bishop Bonnie, for being here. Alicia Peterson, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Diane Meredith, thank you for being on tonight. All of those who are just coming in, grateful for your presence. Dr. Cleveland, you gravitated to what you call the sacred Black feminine. The sacred Black feminine. How does that differ from the picture of a white Jesus in your grandfather's Church of God in Christ congregation that in retrospect caused you concern?
Well, I think the sacred Black feminine says something about the social location of God. Where is God? Who is God with? Whose side is God on? Who is God standing in solidarity with? Who does God declare is sacred? And when I was looking at white Jesus as a little girl, I really questioned: Am I sacred? Is God near me? Does God relate to me? Does God have any empathy for me? Does God have any like need for relationship with me or any desire for me? And certainly as I got older and I saw how scary the world is for Black people and Black women in particular, I really felt like a lot of it had to do with that being so distant from what our society perceives as perfect, as holy, as worthwhile. And so the sacred Black feminine declares that everyone is sacred because she declares that Black women are sacred. And if Black women are at or near the bottom of the pecking order in our society, then if she declares Black women are sacred, then that means all of us are sacred. And so she really inverts the power structure and says, what you called gross, I'm calling beautiful and valuable and holy and followable, in the sense of, Black women are rarely seen as spiritual leaders, as moral leaders. And I think she declares that we are too.
I love that. So powerful. Bishop, go ahead.
There was a friend of mine that I've known for years and years, and one African-American Black male preacher who I hold really, really dear in my heart, and I still do till yet. He was he's gone to heaven, but he was quite a bit older than me then. And I remember asking the question as a young person, similar to what it is with that Dr. Christena is talking about. And I asked him as an afterthought, I said, if God and Jesus preferred male pronouns, if it was what Jesus prefers and God prefers, then why, in terms of how did you come to that conclusion? I said that to him. And he said, well, God and Jesus would not have allowed the Bible to be written with male pronouns the way in which it is if God and Jesus did not want male pronouns to be used in that way, in reference to God and in reference to Jesus. So I said to him, I said, so are you suggesting, this is where we got in trouble and we couldn't talk much after that. Are you suggesting that God and Jesus wrote the Bible? Well, and so cautiously, he said, well, yes, well, and it kind of we got stuck right there. Well, God and Jesus, I said, because I don't read anything in the text that Jesus wrote. Anything. Everything was written about him. They said he said. But I don't recall anything that suggests that he actually wrote, that people wrote about him. Well, our friendship, became strained at about that time. But Jesus said, no, they said, Jesus said. What I saw right there, well, Jesus said, no, somebody had to. I'm not even sure if Jesus was functionally literate as it relates to, I'm not really sure that he could write. The only writing that we know that he was supposed to have written was in the sand, in the dirt. And we don't really know what that was. Well, that sort of ended the. So, and this is a very bright man, a great preacher, but really stuck on the idea that these pronouns and the ways in which we receive an understanding of God, primarily in the masculine, that somehow diminishes the power of femininity also created by the hand of God, right? The way that we act like that is really true. And he said it to me like he thought it was really true. And I was so surprised because he's really sharp. That's just how deep that belief actually is. And I want to lay that there with my sister, Christena, tonight, Dr. Christena, but also with those who are speaking. I think you should say something about how does that impact you when you realize, in truth, that what we say that God and Jesus said was said by the people who wrote what they believed that God and Jesus said. I want to lay that out there, dangerously lay that out there, right?
Mm-hmm. You did, dangerously. And I like it, right? Because I just, it's not that we want to fight with people, but I want to just thank both of you right now for helping people to deconstruct, right? Helping people to interrogate, and then helping people to reconstruct. Mm-hmm. And we need more of that. We need more of that everywhere we go, right? And so in this question that I'm going to ask you, Dr. Christena, folk are going to get upset, but I don't care. You compare Black Madonnas to Marvel superheroes. And I love that because I love Marvel superheroes. I go see every single one when it comes to the because they are known for specific powers, right? Mm-hmm. What are a couple of examples of those when we talk about the Black Madonnas? See, people gonna fall out, right? Because they don't see.
Yeah. So, I mean, so Black Madonnas are incredibly, incredibly powerful. And we know this because across Christian history, Black Madonna shrines are the most visited. There are thousands, there are tens of thousands of Mary shrines, white Mary shrines around the world. There are only about 450 Black Madonna shrines, but Black Madonna shrines make up like the vast majority of the most popular pilgrimage sites. So millions of people have crossed oceans, continents, war zones in order to pray to the Black Madonna and ask for help. So many of them are associated with physical healing. Many of them are associated with protecting people from communities from plagues, wars, any sort of enemies. A lot of them are known for protecting travelers and protecting pilgrims. There's one Black Madonna whose her actual official name is Our Lady of the Good Death, and she's known for helping people die to their false selves and rise up again as and claim who they truly are. So letting go of what society said about them and finding their true identity in her. One of my favorite Black Madonnas to talk about that I didn't talk about in the book. Am I allowed to swear on this podcast or no?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, her name is Our Lady of Good Deliverance, but my nickname for her is Our Lady of Fuck Around and Find Out. Because, and she's extremely famous, and she's the famous Black Madonna of Paris. And she's called Our Lady of Good Deliverance because the Catholic Church has officially certified the miracles associated with her. And most of those miracles are associated with, during the Middle Ages and during the Renaissance period, making sure that people who were birthing babies successfully birth the babies. Obviously, maternal health is always at risk and was especially at risk back then. But there are all these side stories that if you go into the villages and talk to the people, you hear the same story over and over again about her. And it's that in, the year 1300, the year 1400, this particular woman was married to an abusive partner and she had no rights as a woman. And so she couldn't get rid of this partner, but she would go to Our Lady of Good Deliverance and pray for help. And then the partner would just never be seen again. And that story is told over and over and over again, just went missing. Like we don't know where the body is. I'm not saying she killed him, but that's why I called her Our Lady. That's why I call her Our Lady of Fuck Around and Find Out, because and this is why I think God's social location really matters, because oftentimes when people come up and when the abused speak up and say, I'm being abused, the church does not side with the abused. They side with, they protect the abuser. But Our Lady Fuck Around and Find Out is like, I trust you, I believe you, I hear you, I see you, and it's handled.
And it's handled.
And it's handled. So I would say her super, power is she will, if you have somebody and you cannot take the, the normal legal routes, the traditional routes, and this is what it is for so many Black and brown women and people of color, there's no one defending us, but they can go to Our Lady of Good Deliverance and she will deliver them.
My. What a strong deliverance.
Somebody's looking for her right now. Somebody is online right now doing the research.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Listen.
It reminds me of them old Black women who used to tie up a little something in a handkerchief.
Right?
It kind of puts me in that. Go ahead.
And if you go and read these medieval stories about her, I'm like, how could you not see this as a Black woman? This is obviously a Black woman. Like this is just the story itself. There's another story about a Black Madonna taking a man's penis because he was a philanderer, like saving his life, but confiscating his penis, and I'm like, that just sounds like one of my Black aunties. Like, this is a problem. I love you, but we're going to take you. You're a problem. This is a problem.
Right.
In the community.
But you have one particular you talk about that means a lot to you.
Oh, well, I love
Black. You do. But one, I think you said to help find your voice.
Oh.
I cannot think of what her name is.
Is it Our Lady of the Side Eye? She's one of my favorites. I make up nicknames for a lot of them because a lot of them have nicknames already. And I didn't know until after I had gone on my pilgrimage and just come up with my nicknames. She whose thick thighs save lives, and Our Lady of the Side Eye, and She Who Cherishes Our Hot Mess. Like I made up all those names, but I didn't realize until afterwards when I came back and did research that Black Madonnas have a history of being named and being given nicknames. So they love being named.
It was something around perfection.
Yeah, she who cherishes our hot mess.
Yes.
She's probably, I have a real close connection to her. And the chapter I wrote on her is probably my favorite chapter in the book. It's the exact center of the book. Yeah. Yeah, she's called Our Lady of Sick officially, traditionally, but she's really, she really affirms our neediness. And in white male God's world, in white Jesus's world, we always have to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We always have to make sure our skirt is at knee length and that, we're not having sex outside of marriage and all the rules and all the things. And you can't ever just say, I hurt, I need. And she's the divine one who says, actually, I cherish your mess. And when you bring your mess to my altar, that's an especially sacred offering to me. And she really invites us to be honest with our communities about our needs and be honest about where we are in our journeys, the questions that we have, the struggles that we have. And I think she works really powerfully through single Black moms who create these really generative networks of community, even though single Black moms are often seen as, welfare queens or the worst or whatever in our society. And then I think she works really powerfully also through house mothers, queer house mothers, who again are creating these really generative networks of care and acceptance and affirmation and bring all of who you are. We want all of who you are to be here. So I think she's, I agree with Kelly Brown Douglas. Christ is a Black woman. When Black women are out here in the community, bringing liberation, bringing love, bringing acceptance. And she who cherishes our hot mess is just, she's been doing that since the 1100s.
I love it. That's so powerful. So you talked about, and of course I do know this, that Black Madonnas are solely embraced, or at least people think and assume that Black Madonnas are solely embraced by Catholics. But in your opinion and in your research, how would you describe who seeks them and why they seek them?
Yeah, so she's pretty interreligious. The Black Madonna of Senegal, for example, is venerated by Muslims, Hindus, and Christians. And if you go to her feast day, you'll see all three of those groups represented. But then you also, I think she's been colonized and gentrified by the Catholic Church. But I spent 4 weeks in northeastern Brazil in Bahia among Candomblé priestesses, and they venerate the Black Madonna too. She's also an Orisha, and so there's lots of research that shows that throughout the African diaspora, she's associated with Yemaya, she's associated with Isis, she's associated with Black Artemis of Ephesus, the one that the Apostle Paul hated. And so you see across the diaspora plenty of people who love her. There's a really famous Black Madonna in Trinidad. There's a really famous Black Madonna in Costa Rica called La Negrita, and she's loved by Black people there. So Catholic and not, I think the thing that I've found is that the people who are drawn to the Black Madonna are people who are carrying something that's too much to carry. And so they seek her out. They start asking questions that they've been told not to ask, and then they find her. Unfortunately, and the reason why I'm really excited to write about her and talk about her is, unfortunately, white folks have kind of written all the books on her. As far as I know, there are only 2 books written by Black people about her. And so most of the conversation has been run by white folks.
Bishop Flunder?
Conversations like this, Bishop Vanessa, in so many ways, give us an opportunity to open up to the length and the height and the depth of the divine. Mm-hmm. It won't happen watching the news, I can promise you that. It won't even happen in some of our seminaries, because some of these authors are coming along now, and they weren't then, they are now. I think the beauty of this moment the moment that we're in. And I say that to all of the folks that are listening and who listen to the Gatekeepers faithfully. I think the beauty of this moment is that we can open ourselves up to a much greater consciousness of God, much greater consciousness of the divine of our understanding. And not, how can I say, be afraid that somehow our understanding of God is growing and changing and shifting. We need something different to happen to us right now, because church as usual is not doing what really needs to be done. Just about everybody who is hateful right now in the chambers of the House of Representatives right now, just about everybody who is hateful is deeply Christian. Just about everyone who wants war is deeply Christian. Just about everyone who wants to keep people broken and hungry at our borders, most of them would identify as Christian. Or people who want to diminish women and a woman's right to choose, or diminish the LGBTQI community, are Christians who say that
Christian and white and male,
and
predominantly.
predominantly. And I need to say that until we understand that something is very wrong. And we have dealt with it, our families, our children, for decades and generations over and over again. It doesn't change until we decide that that is not the God of our understanding. That is not, we are not going to be forced into believing that God subjugates us and hates us. We absolutely cannot do that. That is not God's will. And it's not God to change us. It's ours to do that. It's ours to decide that we're going to see the divine differently. So we will stop believing, like so many of our foreparents did, that this is my lot in life. It is not my lot in life to suffer and be demeaned over and over again by people who say that it is God's will. And I can think of a few cuss words I'm holding way down in my belly, but you about know what they are right in through here. I'm just done with it. And I do not want it for my children, and I do not want it for my children's children, either of the flesh or of the spirit. You don't get free until you declare freedom for yourself. And if I could hear you tonight with my ears, I would pray that everybody that is listening to this woman of God that is sharing with you tonight will declare freedom over your own mind, over your own thoughts, over your own faith. Take back what has been stolen from you. This is our time. She is helping us. Grab hold to it here.
Yes, Bishop. She is helping us in every way. And I know that people are going to reject a lot of this, but it is truth. And we're so grateful for you. We have questions. People have questions, but not until I ask my last question of you, and then they can go on. This is an important question. Near the end of your book, you write, "For if God is a Black woman, then she's a Black trans woman, obviously." I got to read that again because that's so powerful. I could just feel it, just heat. Near the end of your book, you write, "For if God is a Black woman, then she's a Black trans woman, obviously."
Obviously.
Obviously.
Hmm.
Tell me about that. How did you come to that conclusion?
The Black Madonna. The Black Madonna. So I grew up in a home where I grew up Kojic, so I did not grow up LGBTQIA affirming, and definitely not trans affirming. But the more I studied how much and was transformed, by how much the Black Madonna is here to declare that all are sacred And as a cis, Black, light-skinned, formally educated, born into an upper middle class Black family, I'm not what society calls least sacred. I mean, I can tell sob stories about what my life has been like as a Black woman. And also I have to know I'm not, Black trans women have a different experience than me, and they're subjugated in ways that I'm not. Single Black moms are, working class Black women, dark skinned Black women, larger Black women. I mean, you could go on and on and on. And so when you get serious about when the Black Madonna showed me that I'm sacred and transformed me, and now I'm like, I'm sacred too. Then the next step is what Harriet Tubman says: once you get free, you have to run and work to get everybody else free. If I was so sure of my sacredness that I'm like, well, then everyone else deserves that too. I have to work to affirm that for everyone else too. And Black trans women have just always been a community that's just been on my heart. I've learned so much from Black trans women. I honestly couldn't have even written God as a Black Woman without the work of Black trans female theologians, because they inspired me so much in crossing whatever landscape they needed to in order to find their own sacredness and find themselves in the divine. So I'm like, well, yeah, if she's a Black woman, then obviously she's a Black trans woman, because she's affirming the sacredness of all that white male God says is not sacred. And white male God says that Black trans women aren't sacred. And you can look at the data to see that a lot of even the Black community agrees with that. And if you look at the life expectancy, and if you look at the unemployment rates, and you look at the housing inequality that Black trans women deal with, it's obvious that the Black Madonna is calling people like myself to get into formation behind her and declaring that Black trans women are sacred too and holy too. I don't know. To me, it just makes sense. But I know people have questions. People don't, that's one of the lines in my book that I get a lot of kickback on, but
I like it.
Yeah.
I love it as a matter of fact. Bishop, go ahead, Bishop.
Well, she's just as right as she can be.
Yes, she is.
The truth of the matter is we have quasi-free LGBT people, quasi-free.
Mm-hmm. Quasi, I like that.
Truth, who want to say that I'm everything that the folks that raised me want me to be. I just am gay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in many of those settings, trans people are not affirmed.
Mm-mm.
That's one of the truths that we have to really speak out loud about,
mm-hmm.
as it relates to being same-gender people or people who affirm same-gender loving people. And it is what is being used politically to make a lot of our folks vote for their own deaths.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They vote for the end of their own freedoms based on ideas and thoughts as it relates to the trans community and the lesbian, gay, and bisexual community. They vote for their own deaths. They say, well, they must be right because they're anti-gay. But this is also an opportunity for our community to make a U-turn. Take a look at the way at times we despise each other in a way that creates power for the people that hate us. It's a house Negro syndrome.
It really is. It really is. Yeah. And I have a whole section in my book called Severing My Career as Christianity's House Nigger, because I played that role for so many years. I was getting used, and I was just thinking, well, this is kind of what you were just sharing, Bishop Yvette, like, this is my plight in life and this is the best I can do. I was never taught as a child what my parents taught me to do. And, no disrespect to them, they were doing the best they could, but what they taught me to do was to be the most powerful Negro on the plantation. They did not teach me how to get off the plantation. That was never even a possibility. And so they said, go to Ivy League schools and get the job and stay in your lane and make sure you look cute and make sure you do all the things, stay, and no one ever said, but there's a whole life off this plantation. And I think that's what oftentimes the Black church perpetuates, is that plantation mentality. I mean, even the fact that Bishop Yvette, you were talking to this man and he couldn't even hold space for your questions. We are not taught to be spiritually adventurous. We are not taught that we are divine and that our questions are going to lead us to love.
Come
We
on
are
now.
not taught that God is big enough. We're taught that God is petulant. We're taught that God is weak. God can't handle our doubts. God, I love how Ntozake Shange says, we need a God who bleeds. We need a God who can be real, be in the thick of things. And then, why am I blanking on her name right now? There's a Black, I'm blanking on her name right now, but there's a Black hip hop theologian who talks about white feminism and how white feminism is weak. And she says, I can't deal with white feminism because I need a feminism that can fuck with the grays. Black women's lives are gray. And so then I said, I need a God who can fuck with the grays, who I can say, here's my mess, here are my questions, here are the mistakes I've made, here are the paths that have led to life, here are the ones that haven't. I'm not really sure how to make sense of all this here. And that God is like, I'm here with you. And let's walk through this gray together. Let's walk through this mud together. You can't push me away. You can't scare me away. You can't disgust me. Actually, I cherish your mess. And I cherish your humanity, and I cherish who you are. And you know the way. There's a Black Madonna in my book, and I call her she who loves by letting go. And my other nickname for her is the God of consent. She's the God who says, I actually need your consent in order to be in your life. You have power and ownership too. I'm not just this puppet master that you have to sort of somehow figure out how to please. We're in a relationship. I want to hear what you think, and I'm not going to just bust into your life and tell you what to do. Because what I want to do is help you connect with your divinity, because there's wisdom in you and there's truth in you. And you have the ability to connect with that. And I just want to be here while you're doing that. I want to witness that. I want to be your mama cheering you on. I want to guide you. I want to be a safe space. I wish young kids now had safe, especially LGBTQ kids, safe space to come to the church and say, hey, I got questions, and to be held with love, as opposed to that's not of God, or, So I could go on, but
Powerful. So good.
Oh, that's good.
So rich.
You know that song that says, I know who I am. Show me in God's plan for me. That one? What's the rest of this?
Oh, my name is Victory.
Oh yeah. Got a whole new blessing up in here tonight. Hallelujah.
Yeah. I like it. You know what? And it's good that you say that song, because he starts off by saying, I've got evidence. I've got confidence. And that's what our young people need, particularly our queer kids, our LGBTQI kids. They need that. Now, there are some people here who have questions. I'm going to give way to like 2 or 3. So if you have a question about this book, we want you to ask that. Make sure you put the word question and then write your question down so we can indicate it through the chat. So the first question is, have you read any of Clark Strand, Perdita Finn, or Sophie Strand's work? They are all white. Yes. I'm curious about your thoughts on their work and perspective.
Yeah, that's a good question. Interesting question. I've never gotten that one before. Yes, I've read, I think I've read everything Clark Strand has written. I also read the book that he wrote with his wife, Perdita Finn. I have never read anything by Sophie Strand, but I know who she is. Yeah, so I was actually just commenting to a friend, and this is probably going to be, well, I don't know, it doesn't matter if it's controversial. There's no Black Madonna teacher that I love and hate more than Clark Strand. So he's a white man like extra white, like bright white. And he's also a mystic. So there's some really beautiful truth that comes through in his writing. Like he talks about how the Black Madonna is the darkness, and the darkness is not a what, but a who. And there's so much wisdom that comes out of it. And at the same time, he integrates his work with justice, but only environmental justice and white. So he doesn't ever think about her as Black. And there's times when it's so glaring, I throw his book at the wall. So, and I think that's basically all the white Black Madonna teachers, which is why it's been really important for me to speak out on the Black Madonna as a Black woman. If you read the white Black Madonna teachers, you're going to have to do a lot of translation and interpretation, and you're going to be, as if you're a Black person, and you're going to be frustrated, probably.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Second question. This is from our guest that we had not last week, but the week before. She says, I imagine such a resolve, book title, originated from a sense of curiosity. What question started you on the journey to said resolve?
Is there any hope? I was looking for hope. I was looking for some evidence, some lineage that could affirm that I'm sacred and that my voice matters and my perspective matters and my embodied experience matters and my body matters. And I didn't have any hope without a possibility that those things could be true.
It's so powerful and so true for many people. People will just want to know, do they have any hope? Do they have any hope? And so this research that you've done, I think personally that it provides people with hope. I see there's another question. Have you done workshops with music and meditation using parts of your book to help us journey with the main points you want readers to come away with?
Yeah, last spring and the spring before, I did a Black Madonna e-course, and both of them were embodied as well. And this spring, I'm taking Black women to Paris on an actual Black Madonna pilgrimage.
Wonderful.
So if we actually still have, it's almost sold out, but we do have a few more spots. So if people are interested, we're going to go visit 4 Black Madonnas. It's only for Black women and Black non-binary people. And we won't be walking 400 miles. We're actually going to be taking the train, and we're going to be in Paris at a comfortable hotel, but we'll go visit 4 different Black Madonnas, and we'll do some embodied practices as we connect with them as sacred Black women. It's called the Sacred Black Women Retreat.
Lovely. That's so powerful. And I know that people are going to want to know more about that. So if you want to put some information in our private chat, and then Pastor Sue can post that, I'm sure that there'll be women that want to participate in that.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's literally almost sold out. So
awesome. I see that. It's right there. Okay, so Pastor Sue is going to put that in the chat, so you'll see it on all of the social media platforms. If you know you want to go, if you want to send someone, whatever it is, the information is there. We want to give room if there's any more questions, but if not, somebody already just said, yes, I'm interested. So
good.
There it goes right there. I see it. It's in the tag. It's in the chat. Pastor Sue just put it in, and so you can find out more information if you click on to that particular link. I want to just say thank you right now for the ways in which you have opened yourself up and been able to write this book, and then said, you know what, I wrote it, so I'm going to stand on it. I believe in what I wrote. And I believe that it's going to help liberate somebody else. It's going to help emancipate somebody else. And I believe that it's going to happen. I just wanted to say that to you. I believe that it is going to happen. People are commenting in the chat. I know that people want to purchase the book. Pastor Sue has already pinned that at the bottom. You can go to Amazon and purchase God is a Black Woman. And you know what? You may not want to read it for yourself, or you may have already read it, and perhaps you want to send it as a gift to someone. I think this is a powerful gift for someone who is trying to find themselves, someone who has questions, someone who has questioned, like in Sunday school, like you did, you know what I mean? Questioned other pastors, got turned away, got rebuked, sat down, whatever, and questions never answered. This is a perfect way to enter into. So, Pastor Kevin, Bishop elect Kevin Taylor said that he wants to have a book club around it. So that's powerful. I love this. And another sister, Carmen, that's cousin Carmen, said, I love how you communicate this very necessary tension between Black Madonnas and white colonial Jesus. Thank you. People are looking to hear and are interested in these kind of conversations. And what's not asked today, trust me, this goes in our archive. People are able to go back to it, listen to it, watch it, right? And be able to, digest it over time, right? Bishop Sonia Williams, here's our last question tonight. Thank you, Bishop Williams. Is there a Black Madonna of reproductive justice? Great question.
Ooh, that's a great question. Reproductive justice. Not specifically that I know of, but I'm going back and looking at all these medieval stories about Black Madonnas and then translating them for current Black people today for my next book. And so that gives me an idea. There are a couple of Black Madonnas that are pregnant that suggest lots of affirmation of reproductive justice, but I don't know of any stories specifically about that.
Thank you. And I want to give the opportunity for you to give Bishop Flunder and yourself to give, final words on what you want the people to hear before we go to our advertisement. So, Bishop Flunder, I will let you go first, and then I'll let Dr. Christena Cleveland go.
Changes in the atmosphere. It's not an accident that our histories, our families are connected to one another, Dr. Christena. It's not an accident, because I believe that God has prepared us for such a time as this. Thank you so much. You set some people free tonight. God bless you, and keep doing what you're doing here.
Thank you.
Amen. Amen.
I can just share anything?
Yes.
Okay. People who work with me, the young folks who work with me say that the thing they learned most deeply while working with me is to say this line, I'm too sacred for that. I'm too sacred for that. And so I want to affirm that in all of us that are here tonight, that we can look at the world and know that we're divine too, and that we don't have to put up with what society has offered us. We don't have to stay on the plantation. We have what it takes to be like Harriet Tubman, who was raised on the plantation. All she knew was the plantation. The only language she knew was the language of the plantation. She didn't know she had any transferable skills. She didn't know the terrain off the plantation, but she knew that A, she was too sacred for that. And B, there's a North Star that she could follow. And that North Star would guide her. And so that's true for all of us too. She's our ancestor. And we have that same energy in our bones. We're too sacred for what this society has offered us, what the church has offered us. And there's a North Star that will guide us. And if we keep our eye on the North Star, all the uncertainty in the world doesn't matter, because the North Star will get us to where we need to go and connect us to the people that we need and help us traverse the geography that's unknown. We just have to take that step.
Yes. Powerful. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Everybody, go get the book.
Go get the book.
God is a Black Woman by Dr. Christena Cleveland. It's on Amazon. get the book,
It's
buy
at
it
the
as a
library
gift.
too. A lot of libraries have it too. So
It's at the library. So, hey, if you can't buy it, then you can check it out.
Mhm,
Right.
mhm.
So you have options, right? We want to go to commercials and the things that we need to say, and then we're going to do our book giveaway.
From the blues to hip-hop, African Americans have driven sonic innovation for more than a century. While styles have changed, there's one sound that's remained constant, a source of strength and courage, comfort and wisdom. Gospel.
That's a little bit of gospel.
Gospel music is soul. Gospel music is R&B. Gospel music is funk. It's hip-hop. Gospel music is the full spectrum in terms of its sound of Black music and beyond.
Mahalia Jackson, what was special about her voice?
She believed every word she was singing, and she wanted you to believe it.
Preachers have style, right. Gospel singers have style, right.
Black style in music and preaching is similar because it allows Black people to believe that they can survive a bit longer. My mother had gone to New Bethel Baptist Church.
Is God still standing there?
Theo Franklin would preach and then Aretha would sing. Oh my God, if you ain't got the spirit then, you dead.
The sermon becomes the song. The song becomes the sermon.
God, we ask that you would reinvigorate somebody.
It's almost as if there's a soundtrack in a church setting.
Amen, brother. That was beautiful.
For generations, gospel music and preaching have formed the bedrock of the Black religious experience.
The sound still connects people. The sound still gathers people.
These astonishing art forms, carrying an enduring tradition, continue to evolve. Do you think there will always be gospel music 100 years from now?
I don't see how we can thrive without gospel music.
That's right.
I say it's going to always be there forever.
Listen, as we tell the story of how a people learn to sing the Lord's song in a strange land. This is the powerful story of gospel.
God bless you. God bless you. All of you who have been a part of this conversation tonight, beyond the gatekeepers. We're asking you, as we do each night, that we spend this time together to support our broadcasts by sending a donation via Cash App to $TFAM Annual, TFAM ANNUAL, or PayPal at www.paypal.me/TFAM Justice. Let's support what is blessing us through this incredible time that we are living in today. God bless you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, you are putting hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. It's all one word, no spaces. That's hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. We want to give you the opportunity to win a copy of Dr. Cleveland's book tonight. I know that you can Make sure, I know you can buy it. I'm going to encourage you all to buy it. I know that people have already put in the chat that they've already purchased the book now online since we've been on. And so I want you all to continue to do that. But only one person can win tonight. And so make sure you put hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers so that you can win a copy of the book tonight. I'm going to give you a few minutes to type, and then we're going to go with it. Pastor Sue is going to get ready, and we're going to start spinning this wheel that StreamYard has for us so that you can win the book. Again, hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. Thank you, Bishop Bonnie. Bishop Bonnie says she bought 5 copies. So she's going to give them. Come on. Amen. I'm telling you, it's a blessing. Our winner tonight is Sean Jenkins. Sean,
Yay.
Congratulations to you. Please put your information in our inbox on Beyond the Gatekeepers page, and we will get that information to Dr. Cleveland, and she will get that book out to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Bishop Bonnie says she's going to give these books out as gifts. We appreciate you so much. We appreciate those who have supported this show on tonight and those that are with us pretty much every week. And we say thank you for joining us, and God bless you.